All right, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, fellow Pandemonium travelers, this is Seattle Pandemonium Shutdown, day 354 by my count. So what's going on? What's going down? We've got stupidity. What is it? The only two things that are infinite is maybe space and human stupidity. Something like that. It's a paraphrase. Mr. Potato Head. Let's talk about Mr. Potato Head. So, Mr. Potato Head used to be literally a potato, and the toy was arms and legs and a face and eyes and things, mouth, and then you would jab it into an actual potato. Well, this evolved into the hard plastic sort of football-shaped thing that we all kind of know. We know from Toy Story. Maybe you had one growing up. Maybe you had a friend who had one. Maybe you all had one. Then there was, of course, Mrs. Potato Head, which is Mr. Potato Head with a bow on it, much like Ms. Pac-Man. So what's going on with Mr. Potato Head? Well, Hasbro, I believe it's Hasbro, is the company that produces Mr. Potato Head. They announced they're no longer calling it Mr. Potato Head. They are degendering Mr. Potato Head and just making it Potato Head, I guess. So this caused a brief firestorm of outrage. Well, I can't say brief. I mean, it's still going like right now as I'm talking. People are Twitter-pated about Mr. Potato Head transitioning and how he's going to explain this to poor Mrs. Potato Head. She's put in all these years, and it's going to be a shock to their potato children. We're not sure how this will impact the other potatoes of color, meaning like, golden potatoes or your Peruvian purples. It will send shockwaves throughout the potato world. But I'm sure they'll hash it out, if you know what I mean. Anyways, then later, this was about, I don't know, an hour ago, they announced, oh no, Mr. Potato Head isn't going away. Neither is Mrs. Potato Head. We're gonna have those still. Well, we're also just gonna have Potato Head. Okay. So what this was an exercise in marketing, I suppose. I mean, what was that? What was the point of that? This to be inclusive to trans people. Again, it's one of these bizarre things where it's like, I feel like if I were a trans person, I would not want them to do this performative garbage. Like, all they did was make people roll their eyes and say, look at this woke nonsense. Mr. Potato Head is Mr. Potato Head. And it's just axiomatic. It just is what it is. And to say, oh, we're going to degender Mr. Potato Head is just, it's really something. And then not to be outdone, Oreo. Yes, Oreo, you dip it in the milk and started to go into a Bill Cosby thing. You dip it in the milk and it has the chocolate with the cream in the middle. They tweeted out, trans people exist. Now this is another sort of, it's like non-comedy. Like, there's comedy which makes you laugh, right? And you like feel mirth, and your heart is lifted into a state of sort of like joy at the observation or the joke. Then there's non-comedy, which is like, it's sort of like, especially an attempt at humor, or lightheartedness or something positive, but it just falls so flat that it actually makes you feel worse about your life, the universe, and everything. It makes you feel worse about existing. And that is like non-midi. It's like, what? It's like, why are my cookies scolding me about trans rights, you know? Like, why do I, like, again, that's not helping transgendered or transsexual people. That is some kind of bizarre corporate pandering. Like, it's just so weird. Like, it's like, again, not to pick on juggalos too much, I pick on juggalos a little bit, but it's like, juggalo lives matter, or juggalos exist. Okay. And what does that have to do with cookies? Like, what? So, were people boycotting you because they thought you were against trans people? Because that'd be even more bizarre. You make cookies. This is like the Coca-Cola thing. It's like, you make cookies. Just make Oreos. I guess, you know, I guess it's what, Nabisco? Is Nabisco own Oreo? So you got Nabisco, you got your Nilla wafers maybe, you got maybe Chips Ahoy are in there. I don't know what all their cookies are, but it's fine. I don't need socio-cultural politics dictated to me by my frickin' cookies or my soda. Like, it's just so bizarre. And like, if people were having, presumably, ostensibly, they were saying, wow, this is so cool, you guys. And you're like, why? What is cool about it? This cookie company said something that bears like no social cost, is almost nonsensical in its framing, like, trans people exist. Yeah, we know. We hear endlessly about trans issues. It's like everywhere all the time. Like, it's in Congress. They have people putting up flags and other people putting up signs, making fun of them putting up flags, and blah, blah, blah. It became lumped in with LGBT, Q, whatever. And again, none of this is helping trans people. All you're doing with this nonsense is just alienating normal people who are like, why is Oreo yelling at me? Like, what? Like, why do I have to hear about this again from my soda, from my cookies? I just want to, like, eat Oreos. So now if I eat Oreos, am I endorsing transgender? Like, and then we got that Dr. Levin, who's some trans person with top ramen hair, getting asked before being what do you call it, appointed to, what is it, Secretary of Health? See, I don't actually know these things. You shouldn't listen to me. Yeah, it was like health secretary or something like that. About getting grilled a little bit by Rand Paul about, well, do you support transitioning the gender of minors without parental consent? And the doctor refused to answer the question in an honest capacity. It was clearly just dodgy nonsense. And it's like, I get it. They always do this. All, like, politicians and stuff do this. They give non-answers to questions when they don't want to give an answer that they know might be unpopular. But the transitioning of the gender of minors without parental consent is an insane idea that if you apply it, like, it's actually much like the House Resolution 127 with the gun control provisions. It's like, what you're asking for will create an authoritarian dystopian nightmare where a child says, no, someone puts the idea in a child's head, oh yeah, you can be born a boy and then become a girl. And then they go, oh, well, I'm not the most overtly masculine boy or most feminine girl, so therefore I must be trans. And then they can transition their gender, meaning in our current paradigm, that means injecting hormones and getting surgery to alter their bodies in order to turn themselves into what they are being told to perceive as being a different gender. And without the parental consent, what do you think that means? Then what if the child says, oh, I'm trans, and the parents object, like say, no, you're not, what are you gonna do? You're gonna have the police that we've defunded come and take the child away from the parents and go transition their gender as a minor? Like, you gotta, like, kind of play these things out, guys. It's, again, like the gun control thing. You start applying storage restrictions and oversight for every person who owns guns and fees and licensing requirements, you're gonna create an authoritarian hellscape where people come knocking on people's doors at all hours. They're inspecting the floor plan of your house. If anything is incorrect, you get huge fines. They'll take your children away. And all of this is being done by the state. This is not, you need to be nice to your transgender coworkers and try to respect their pronouns. This is, again, the state taking your child away and transitioning their gender against your will as a parent because a child believes something someone told them. Children also believe in Santa Claus, okay? Now, I know there are trans people who say, no, I knew when I was young. Okay, fine, but we don't allow minors to make all kinds of decisions. Sexual activities, consumption of substances, operating vehicles, operating firearms, having jobs in some cases, right? All kinds of situations, but in this instance, because Oreo said it was cool and Mr. Potato Head is no longer Mr. Potato Head unless he is still Mr. Potato Head and this is all stupid, then that makes it okay. And that's some kind of bizarre, again, weird corporate fascist kind of framing scenario that is really just kind of pissing people off. and I don't blame them. All right, that's enough from me for a Thursday. I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.